listen, this whole 53-man roster is new to me. College was 85. That's the reality of the NFL. To me, Tebow's 1-90. I mean, he goes, he's a guy that, what's the difference between him and the other 40 guys to make the team? He didn't say he's 1 of 53. He said he's 1-90. And I thought to myself, this is the Urban that is transitioning to the NFL. You know it well. You let go of guys knowing they may land somewhere else. And, it's just like when you look at Tebow, to me, he's a 1994 blocking tight end. You keep as a 3. Tight end now is too athletic. You can't keep him. He's not an NFL tight end. That's my thought. Yours.
Yeah, Urban's going to go through a learning curve with a lot of things, transitioning from college to pro football. And this looks like one of those situations where he had a guy that he cared about, he liked a lot, and he wanted to give him an opportunity. But as he comes in, he looks at him and realizes not just age, but transitioning to a different position and the other skill guys that he has available, it's just not going to work. Now, maybe it works from a practice squad perspective. Maybe he can keep him around in that way. Maybe he just wants the presence in the locker room. And again, that becomes like a practice squad type role, coach in the locker room type thing. But yeah, it's too late to make this transition, and there's just not enough there to make it work.
By the way, and you live in Cleveland. You're not there now. You're at one of your many luxurious beach homes. But I said this. You have to be careful in the NFL. The Patriots, the Seahawks, the Packers are so successful that they don't fall in love when they have brief success. But years ago, the Bills, Ryan Fitzpatrick had a good September, and the Bills threw a ton of money at him. It's like, it's September, it's sunny, it's Buffalo, okay? It's mostly not. Cleveland with Baker, my takeaway is, okay, he had some success. What's the rush for a contract? Let's see if he can play. So when I hear about this contract extension stuff, I'm like, no. Josh Allen, I'd sign early. There's no doubts there. Is it okay for me to still have doubts with Baker Mayfield off a little bit of success last year?
100%. You should have nothing but doubts in that situation. And why would you ever rush it? You have the 5th-year option with first-round draft picks for a reason, to give you more time and to give you that player at cost certainty, but something that's fair to him. Why do you need to rush to pay these guys and dramatically affect your salary cap? And with Baker, it's been hot and cold, and he made a ton of progress. He made progress as a player, and in my mind, he made a lot of progress as a person and showed a lot of maturity. But until you see that consistently, why would you lock yourself into a long-term contract? I mean, you've got to be Patrick Mahomes sure of a guy to sign him early. Otherwise, it just makes no sense from a franchise perspective.
So Brady went on one of these shows, one of these LeBron shows, right? And he went out there and he's saying, he's ripping a quarterback, and we're trying to guess who it is. Joy said something last week. We were talking about Brady. Is this who Brady always was, but for the team, he kept all his comments under wrap? Is he having a midlife crisis with his football? And it's interesting because, he's got an opinion on everything. I love this version of Tom. I think it's closer to who he is. But Tom behind the scenes. This new Tom, outspoken, ripping guys, was that always who he was, just not to us, the media?
Well, when we look at it, it's ripping from a Tom Brady perspective. It's not really ripping guys that harshly. And when you grow up in New England, and he not only spent early part of his career, he literally grew into an adult, borderline AARP in New England. And that's the way the whole system is programmed. You're going to say as little as possible. I do think Tom has a great personality. I think he's funny. I think he's intensely competitive. I would imagine that to some degree he feels like he hasn't gotten all the credit he probably deserves to have gotten over the course of time. And then to go do what he did in Tampa Bay, it's a little bit of like, yeah, I told you who I was. I've been telling you who I was. And then when you had an opportunity to sign me, you guys didn't want to sign me.
Yeah. So, do you have any clues to who Brady was talking about when he said that?
Well, the Chicago makes so much sense, but I don't necessarily think it's Chicago, and I don't necessarily think it's a team that he wouldn't have played for. I mean, I could imagine that it could be San Francisco very easily. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo and he had obviously not issues, but they were prepared to move on from him for Jimmy in the first place, and then his childhood team, and he can't go there, and Jimmy's there again, and keeping him from that possibility. And look, a year later, they did move on from Jimmy. They went and traded, an unprecedented amount to go get another quarterback. So in a lot of ways, Tom was right. So that makes sense to me, even though he said I would have never played at that location. I don't think that part was necessarily the whole story.
Well, it's interesting. Very intriguing. People are telling me I'm getting a lot of people saying I'm wrong on Trubisky. Wouldn't be the first time I'm wrong. So it's interesting. But I was thinking about this morning. Greg Cosell's been doing this for a long time, watches film, knows his stuff. And he said Josh Allen is the single most talented quarterback prospect I've ever seen. He has more skills. He's Elway, but much bigger. Mahomes, but faster. And it's interesting. Bradshaw came from a small town. We didn't watch him in college. Brett Favre, didn't watch him in college. Josh Allen, didn't watch him in college. When you first saw Josh Allen, did you buy it? Did you have questions? What do you make of him as a player, as a prospect, as a talent?
I had a ton of questions when I first saw him. I had a ton of questions when I was looking at him coming out in the draft from an accuracy perspective. And I think that has been an issue to some degree. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's a good runner. Athletically, he's a strong arm. He's got all those gifts, but there were a bunch of times where it looked like he made wide receivers work and work really hard for the ball. And you saw that a significant amount early in his career, and I think he's gotten better at that. But I'd say that's still a factor in his growth. And I give Brian Daboll a ton of credit for what he's done with Josh. But from a pure talent perspective, it's hard to think that he has more inherent talent than a Patrick Mahomes. It's just, even Aaron Rodgers, they're just so unique in terms of what they can do athletically with the football and converting passes.
By the way, you didn't mention Brady there in the talent thing. That was a kind of a slight.
well, no. Wait, he's going to show up on the next podcast. Brady's talent level is a totally different type of thing, and it's a lot from the shoulders up, where he understands. If he knows where what you're in, it's going to go to the right place. And there's a lot of guys that can't do that.
Okay. So, by the way, you're out in an undisclosed location. It's very bougie, but I would say it's not far. It's very nice.
I love the fact that you would call any place I'm located bougie.
So it's very...
pot calling the kettle,
Okay, so you're not far from Patriots, land. What are you hearing on Mac Jones? Seriously, what are you hearing? What are you seeing on Mac?